We've done quite well. We thought everyone would leave after it, didn't we? And that there's still people here, and they haven't locked the doors. Welcome to You Got a Stream. We wanted to call this I Have a Stream, but we couldn't get copyright clearance from ABBA. So You Got a Stream it is. The fight is back on. The legacy giants of the media landscape have finally decided to fight back against those pesky upstart kids and the SVODs, and they're now taking their tanks and they're parking them on the lawns. And the thing is, we're going to find out today whether these tanks are full of fantastic new technology or they're just a load of old World War II Soviet tanks with their paint. They're going to collapse under the first onslaught of consumer demand. It's a terrible analogy, but it got your attention. Joining me on the panel today, we have Reemah Sakaan, who is the Group Director of ITV SVOD, so Britbox UK and Britbox USA.
That's right.
And David Lynn, who is the CEO of Viacom International Media Networks, who recently acquired Pluto TV. And we're going to start off, we've got about half an hour, and we're going to kick off first by looking at Britbox, and we've got some tape, haven't we?
It's a sizzle from the US.
Let's have a look at that. Wow. That's pretty good. We're going to talk about, we'll come back to the US a bit later, because everyone really wants to know about the UK. And I want to know how you're going to persuade my mum and dad to spend $5.99 a week on buying Britbox UK when it's...
Well, it's $5.99 a month.
Oh, well, there you go.
Don't panic.
Attention to detail, never been my strong point.
We'll probably show them something a little bit like that.
Yep.
You know, we are sitting on a brilliant train set, as you can see, between the BBC and ITV. We've got a fantastic armoury of rights that we sit on. We've got a bunch of faces that you know and recognise, so you can spend more time watching streaming rather than browsing around it. We think the sort of stores of talent that we have are a brilliant way in. And once we kind of get them in and get them to pay, it's all about making them stay with lots of new things. So it won't just be a catalogue sale.
Sorry, I just heard that, lots of new things.
Lots of new things, yeah.
So, but your origination budget, this was going to be a question I was going to ask later, but you've heard me. I mean, when you heard Retastings saying, what did he say?
400 million.
400 million? Yeah, I think so. And how much have you got?
Well, we haven't talked about our content budget in any detail yet.
Oh, haven't you?
No,
really?
No. But we've got...
Is it close to that number?
No, we've gone on with our eyes open on Britbox, both in the US and the UK. You know, this isn't a cheap business to get into. It's why it's taken us a long time to get there, aside from, you know, our partnerships and all of the regulation that we face. But we're taking it really seriously. We've got brilliant content budgets, both for bought and acquired programming, but also for original programming. The challenge with original programming, as you know, is it takes quite a while to build.
Yeah.
So we're in the early stages of doing that. We've probably spoken to most of the people in the room about new ideas and projects, and very much open for business for...
And will you be launching with some originals, or is that not really core to what your offering is?
Well, originals will be coming on stream in the first year, but we won't be at launch. It will be a mix of catalogue and some exclusives and premiere stunts.
And it's content, it's the ITV catalogue, it's the BBC. Although you must be worried when evil Bal Samra gets to hold on rights for a further year. That's a bit of an issue for you with the BBC part, isn't it? Because a lot of that stuff might be played out by the time it comes to you.
Bal Samra's not evil. So yeah, we sit on an enormous, the largest collection of British box sets. And, to Reed's point, it's a really simple proposition. It's very clear what we're about. And some of that is loved classics from the past. Recent hits over the past few years that people may have missed, but multi-series box sets, so you can go right back to the beginning and watch all the way through. And then things coming out of their catch-up window, whether that be 30 days for the commercial broadcasters and iPlayer's new 1 year. And we think it makes loads of sense to just close up that ecosystem. The most frustrating thing that people talk to us about is sort of where does everything go? It goes out of 30 days, it kind of disappears in a holdback somewhere. I end up having to buy a single episode and download it. And so being the place where catch-up leaves off and making sure that people know if it's not on one of the BBC or ITV, it's probably on Britbox. Really simple thought. And
in terms of the future road of acquiring content, you report into Kevin, which must be great fun.
It's a joy, I love it.
And so that means some of the decisions he makes at the network centre, as we used to call it, I don't know if we still do anymore, has to reflect your needs, presumably. So I guess that means you'll be paying more for content.
Who?
ITV, to get the rights.
I mean, that's, a much more complicated, broader picture, but absolutely, we sit in a brilliant position to start having conversations with producers and distributors about the full life cycle of a show. And, honestly, of course, we pay market rates and we pay for our usage. But there's also a huge benefit in doing that deal up front. You all know, you get a show commissioned, you sell it, it then gets distributed somewhere else. In 2 years' time, you get a check from whatever. And really sort of how that full sort of system works is very complicated and quite cumbersome. Being able to have those conversations up front and having a real understanding that it could go on Britbox. We're not saying it has to go on Britbox. Yeah. And if it's right for the service and right for the programme, then absolutely we'll be paying for those rights.
Okay, well, we're going to talk more about it, but I can see David is gagging to show off his latest toy. So we've got a clip now, David, of Pluto TV, which, should we see it first, or do you want to explain?
Well, I think it's worth saying at the outset that this is a tape from our US service, so it gives you a vision of where we want to take the service as well internationally, but let's take a look at the tape.
You mean no one here will like it?
I think they will. We'll see.
Now for the entertainment. Actually quite nice.
So Pluto is an AVOD system, and but your model is kind of interesting because there's a tremendous amount of flexibility in it, isn't there?
Yeah, so just to kind of describe how the service works, it's very differentiated from a lot of the other offerings out in the marketplace, and I know David Zaslav yesterday talked about how many people are moving into the classic SVOD space. Pluto is different in that, first of all, it's live linear TV. Secondly, it's advertising based, and thirdly, it has channel brands. So it's quite differentiated versus what's happening in the rest of the market. And that model is really catching on. In the US, we only bought Pluto in January this year, and at that stage it had 12 million monthly average users. Within 6 months, it's already gone to 18 million monthly average users. So we're getting incredible rapid take-up and traction. And it combines, as I say, the user interface that, we believe that curation of channel brands, etc., is something that's valued by the consumer. It has a VOD element as well, but that curated live service, viewers actually find very compelling, and it means that our average watch time is considerably higher.
But it's quite, so I downloaded it yesterday. I'd recommend it. Here it is, look. And I downloaded it. It took me no time at all to download it, and I'd already viewed several programs by the time Piers Morgan had answered one question. So it's very fast to do, and I'd recommend it. But my God, it's quite old-fashioned. It's great for an old bloke like me. And Kirsty Walk, I introduced you to Kirsty earlier. She was so excited because people of a certain age, this is great. It's like a linear TV experience. It's steampunk streaming. Is it going to work for anyone under 50?
It has the lowest age profile of any service.
You're kidding.
Yeah, more than 50% of the audience is 16 to 36 in the US market. So the fact that it's very easy to use. You download the app, you open it, and it's streaming video from that moment. We've worked very hard on the distribution. So we're available on all of the connected TVs. We're available on all mobile services. And now that it's come into Viacom as well, we're also making it available and working with cable and satellite partners so it becomes part of their services. So it's a lean-back experience. Compelling long-form TV in a space where, particularly in the US, where there's very few people playing in it's the biggest in the free viewing space.
So I was looking at the content, and some of it, I must say, Ireland's Greatest Robberies, My Holiday Hostage Hell, Celebrity Paranormal Project. It's really, it's a bit McDonald's, isn't it, to sort of Apple's Nobu, I would say. There's a lot of volume in there, but in the age of premium content, that's not necessarily where you're interested in playing, is it?
Well, actually, the content, if you look at the content we have, it's made up of content that's come from and played on the big broadcasters from the BBC and ITV. The other thing to remember is that we're really just ramping up the service in the UK here now. So if you looked at the tape for the US there, you see the quality of the content that we've got already in the US. We have 200 channels in the US. 165 different content partners. So this isn't a Viacom service. Viacom's just one of the 165 content partners. So we have deals with all of the US studios. Internationally, we're just getting started, frankly, so we're just ramping up. Over the summer, we've been working hard on distribution. That's a critical factor for it. So we launched on Fire TV. That's already doubled our numbers. This month, we're launching on iOS, Android, and Samsung. So that's going to put us between UK and Germany on 80 million different devices. So as you get that distribution, what you find is obviously you get more audience, and that means higher ad revenue, which means more content, higher quality content, and that turns into a virtuous circle. So you're going to see big changes and ramp-ups over the next 12 months. We're bringing in some of the Viacom content, so we're bringing Paramount content, we're bringing awesomeness content. And we're doing deals with many other people like Endemol, for example.
And will you move into local origination in the UK?
That's not the plan to do origination. So if I step back and look at the Viacom strategy, as I mentioned, David Zaslav talked to everybody moving into the SVOD space. We feel that we're in a differentiated space. First of all, we continue to strengthen our pay TV offering, and that's increasingly moving from linear to non-linear. Secondly, we're moving into the premium VOD space. So we have niche targeted services like Noggin, which is our preschool service. And then we have a broader premium VOD service like Paramount Plus, which is content from all of Viacom. So we see it as a market segmentation. So we've got the bundled pay TV, we have the SVOD products, and now we've introduced a free service, Pluto. So given that it's free, we will window our content. We will prioritize our premier content, on our pay TV bundles or on our SVOD services. But the Pluto TV service will be based on library content. And there's a hell of a lot of great quality library content out there.
I'm sure. So well done, good advertisement. Did you ever think about doing channels like that, organising your content in a different way?
Well, I think actually, you know, where the sort of streaming world is converging is that both usage and navigation are a bit more like TV. You know, Hulu sticking live right in the heart of their service, scheduled launch dates, times, weekly, episodic drops, that sort of thing. And actually, it is a much more blended world. I think, you know, the Pluto interface looks really familiar and behaves like television, and then has, you know, SVOD, you know, new streaming services, and navigated by kind of talent and brands that you know, which is, you know, why within Britbox, we're not hoping to kind of erase the brands that take part. So BBC and ITV are massively important. The eagle-eyed amongst you all know that we announced a content deal with Channel 5 this morning to join Britbox. That will be an important part of the way people find programmes and things that they like. So, you know, it's new TV. It's not a different world.
Kirsty, when she was talking to Reed, talked about, you know, are there too many subscriptions? You know, how many can the market sustain? And do you have a worry about that? I mean, you've got subscription, you've got AVOD, you've got subscription. I mean, what?
I mean, I've just spent a couple of years in the US. There are 260 streaming services and counting the big guys launching this autumn. There's tons of talk of aggregation and subscription fatigue. There's no evidence of it. For Britbox in the US, it's usually the fourth or fifth streaming service that people are adding. It's a very, very mainstream market, mature. The second wave of subscribers coming into SVOD are much more kind of like, you know, the audiences that we know. And so I think, you know, can you handle lots of subscriptions? It's probably more an economic equation. I was looking yesterday, if you took Netflix, Amazon, Now TV, if you add Britbox, even if you add Apple TV, and even if you add Disney Plus, it's still collectively half the price of a full fat.
So you're not worried at all?
IQ. So I think there's you know, as long as you can keep the equation right actually.
Because isn't the real thing about this, it isn't actually that how many people can afford it. None of these services actually make any money. They build asset value for the company, etc., but they're all loss-making. Are both of you, are these loss-makers, or do you...
I mean, no, we're not in the business of losing money. Britbox in the US is washing its face after 2 years, so absolutely not. They're long-term strategic plays, that's for sure. There's no easy way. There's a lot of pressure on pricing. There's a lot of, you know, price inflation in the rights market, but there is definitely a way through it.
And you're the...
Yeah, so I would say, like, overall, I think clearly there's a lot of people moving into the industry at the moment, and, you know, we'll see how that plays out over the next few years. But I do think that you're going to see, it's not going to be one model wins out. I think you're going to end up with several different types of services, and it's going to be interesting to see how that develops. I think Ed Shed was just saying that, you know, people have appetite for a lot more subscriptions maybe than people have recognized before. One of the things that we've seen in other parts of the world, and specifically in the Nordics, is that some of the operators there are beginning to bundle some of the SVOD services. We have a service called Paramount Plus, but it's made available on a B2B2C basis, and the operators there combine it with other SVOD services and make that available to the consumer. So it's one subscription fee for the consumer service. So there's another way the market could
and localization for you is really important, isn't it? To have the German services very different, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we've always had a global and local strategy. That, you know, we have that global pipeline, and this is why I think Britbox strategy makes a lot of sense. You know, how do you differentiate yourself? I think BBC and ITV coming together to launch something targeted at the UK market. There's look at the content on the PSBs. All of the top content is local content, so it's critical that you do have a locally targeted service in the regions that we operate.
Given what's happened to cable channels in America over with churn, etc., do you are beginning to think of strategies to keep loyalty? The audience is churned. Do you see that as a big problem for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the subscriber management business, you know, make them pay, make them stay. So, you know, we're learning an awful lot and bringing in lots of skills around what it takes to acquire a customer and then what it takes to retain them. And that's where the content mix is so fascinating, because the thing that you know, within the same person, the thing that you think, oh, that's different, I can't get it anywhere else and I'll get my credit card out for, isn't the thing that you end up always watching when you get there. So which is why, you know, I subscribe for, you know, Orange is the New Black, but I'm watching Endless Friends. But actually that's within the same customer. So managing that life cycle is the art and science of subscription, I guess.
And
I mean, ultimately, it's about content and premium content, and that's why, you know, with Viacom merging with CBS, this really puts us in a strong position to be able to cater in, you know, an increasingly competitive market. We've 750 series in production across the two companies at the moment. So I think that's one critical piece. And then the other piece, which just coming back to Pluto, is the branding piece. I think you know, people find it difficult, despite all the algorithms, finding the next thing they want to watch on SVOD services. And that's one of the advantages of our curated service on Pluto. We've done research on this, not just for Pluto, but generally, and we found that 83% of people were more likely to watch content if it was branded with a channel brand versus coming on brand. People are finding it difficult to judge what they should watch next. So therefore, I think the combination of investment in content and strong branding, I feel that we have a
that is really
future.
interesting, isn't it? Because we thought channels were dead, and you're saying to me that actually...
Well,
that's
this
the delivery.
isn't necessarily channels, this is in non-linear environments,
Okay.
but having that brand on something, then people know what type of content it's going to be.
Have we got any scientific understanding between the balance, particularly for Britbox, between what's the percentage of originals and the percentage of library that kind of works? Have we got any understanding of
I
that?
think we talked about this the other day. I think it's 17.89%. No, we really don't. And as I was saying, that's the fascinating art and science. And until we start and really understanding the data and viewing habits and the groups of people that you get in, it's very hard to say. We know that originals, exclusives are massive acquisition drivers. They bring people through the front door, and then a depth of fantastic library and catalogue and the ability to watch series from the start that may be recent or very old are really important to make them stay. But you know, we look at our top 10 every week in the US, and it can Are You Being Served can be number one week, and something completely brand new can be something the other.
In the US, I kind of get it, but here in the UK, you've got a very difficult job. You've got the iPlayer, you've got the ITV hub, you've got a plethora of different windows. I mean, that's quite tricky to manage that, isn't it? Diplomatic.
Well, I think it's about keeping it quite simple, actually. So, you know, Britbox will be the largest collection of British box sets. They're permanent, they don't come in and out. You know, it's the place that most things end up, and we will be bringing brand new shows to it that will be things that you can only watch on Britbox. So, you know, we think there's definitely a place to play. Versus the other streamers, we're doing something very different. You know, they are all piling in on US content and those broad services. So that feels like it's getting very competitive. But I think to Dave's point, it's having a really differentiated brand, something that means something. Come the day when it is all aggregated together, you probably won't have 6 US services all vying, but you might have 3 and 1 British one. So we think creating something that does something quite distinct.
I think when this session was originally designed, the idea was there was going to be a punch-up between, is it AVOD or SVOD, what's going to be the stronger? And I suspect, there's no point me even asking this question, because I think I know what your answer. What's the better model? Which one's going to survive?
Well, I think both. Like, I see it as market segmentation. You know, say you've got premium services, you've got mid-tier services, and you've got free services. That's the environment we're in now. Like, you know, if you look at the last 10 years, it's not like that Sky went out and linear free TV went away. Like, both coexisted. So I think that's going to continue in the future.
Yeah, and we're both in both. I mean, we've got a really healthy AVOD business, and we're establishing a brand new SVOD business. So, and actually, when you look at what Peacock are doing and HBO Max, there's flavours of that within the services that they're launching. So I think being able to be in all the places that your customers are, you have to twin track. Linear TV will exist for a very long time. AVOD will exist for a very long time. SVOD will exist for a very long time. We want to be in all of it.
Okay. Well, look, Thank you. I think we've covered just about everything there. It's a brilliant advertisement for Pluto, brilliant advertisement for Britbox. We're looking forward to that. We are now wrapping. It's time for coffee, but before you all go off for your coffee, please give a big hand for David.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.